I'm Marcos Martinez. As Peter say, I'm Director for Standards in the Connectivity and Access Business Unit of MaxLinear. Many of you know me already. Okay, I've been working on LiFi for many years already. So I will try to give a silicon vendor perspective on the issue, because it's true that we've discussed a lot about technology, the great things that LiFi can bring, what could be done. Here I'm here more to provide maybe a more pessimistic thing about the technology, or maybe just try to answer the question on what can be done. Okay, because one thing is what we could do, okay, if the world was ideal. Another thing is what we can do, okay, taking into account the different economics and the different, and the situation of the market and what are the perspectives. And I will give this speech with the perspective of a silicon vendor. Okay, as you know, we face particular challenges. Okay, we have to take rough decisions sometimes. The ecosystem of the silicon vendors is quite interesting right now. Okay, as you know, there is a big shortage of capacity in the fabs, so we have to choose very well what are the products that we need to invest on, and specifically also because the products are more and more expensive also to develop. In this ecosystem, taking the right decision at the right moment, that's the key challenges of the silicon vendors. Okay, and LiFi is a very good example of this, actually. So I would just present briefly what is MaxLinear, because maybe not everybody knows the company here, and present also very briefly what are the products that MaxLinear is offering in terms of LiFi and the solutions we are offering. Also a little bit on the LiFi markets and some overview on what we think are the different markets that are flying nowadays. And I think that that's a very important thing, okay, since, as I say, I've been working in LiFi, and we have been providing chips for LiFi for many years already. Try to share a little bit some of the lessons we have learned on this, what is our perspective, and what needs to be improved. Okay. Finally, some summary on this. Okay. So, what about MaxLinear? So MaxLinear is a fabless semiconductor company, okay, that is really oriented to provide communication infrastructure. Okay, I'm myself member of the Connectivity and Access Business Unit, so we are providing connectivity, all the connectivity solutions from access, gateways, and in-home environments. So we are growing. We are a relatively young company compared to Musa's claims that Philips is 100 years old. We are only 20 years old, so we are a very quite young company. Okay, but we have evolved very fast. When I entered the company 5 years ago, we were 300. Now we are, even this slide is old because we just acquired a new company, and we will be around 3,000 people. Okay. We are based in the US, but you see in the map here that we have locations everywhere around the world. Okay, so it's a I would say that MaxLinear is a very classical fabless company, American fabless company, that is growing quite a lot lately. We are very active in the different fora, standardization fora and SDOs and the different industrial alliances. That's a must for us. And it is a must for every fabless company today, because the world of silicon vendor has evolved from in the 70s, 80s, 90s. We were more providing integrated circuits that were put together by system integrators to create a system. Nowadays, the silicon vendors provide system on chip. Okay, so that means that the knowledge of the system for Wi-Fi, LiFi, any technology is now moving to the silicon vendors. Okay, so we are the owners of the vast majority of the knowledge. And if you see, for instance, what is happening in this industrial alliance, and you see the contributions that are brought to the standards, I would say that 70% of the contributions right now are coming from silicon vendors. Why? Because everything has shifted to all the knowledge of the protocols, of the technology, of how to build the communication system is shifting to the silicon vendor. Okay? And that's the reason why we need to be present in all these fora. I tried to summarize it. It's not a complete view, but just to put into context our work in LiFi. Okay, these are the chips that we do in MaxLinear. Okay, so basically we do have three main branches, I would say. We have our 4G and 5G ecosystem, where we are providing mainly chipsets for connecting the base stations to the core network, where we are expanding quite a lot there. Okay, and you can see there are several. Okay, I think that, okay, I don't know how it works. Okay, yeah, sure, yeah. So all these 4G, 5G, and in the future 6G, okay. The second pillar that we have is on the data centers, okay. And where I personally work, okay, is in the connectivity and access, which is all this part of the system, okay, which includes, I put it here in the home network, but it's not exactly in the home network. LiFi is spread all around the connectivity and access, okay. But we provide all the chipsets that are going from the core network to the end user device. But we provide the infrastructure. No, we don't provide the end user terminals. For instance, we are not providing chipsets for mobile phones, okay. And why? Because that's a completely separated market, okay, where volumes and time to market and cost are the main drivers. In our case, time to market is maybe the main driver. Okay. So that's about MaxLinear. What do we offer within LiFi? Okay. So some time ago, we chose to back this G.9991 standard that is also called G.VLC, and we base our LiFi solutions on that standard. Okay, why? Because well, when we will see that, you will see that in later slides. Okay, but the idea was that the LiFi market was not so big to justify an investment of $50 or $60 million into a new chipset. So we decided that since this seems to cover 80–90% of the requirements, okay, why don't we use this to start the market, as you will see. Later on, the standard can evolve to something more specific, but at least we will not face such big investment in creating a completely new silicon on this. So that's the main reason to start on this standard that is coming from indeed a standard that is widely used in home networking with Powerline. Okay, so that triggered the creation of this 9991 standard that Max presented so well. Okay, this standard was published in 2019. Okay, but it had several updates in the meantime. Okay, so the basic standard was really oriented to provide a physical layer connectivity and a MAC layer connectivity. Now it has been improved following the requirements of the market by including handover, okay, between access points, between LiFi access points, and also to include new security mechanism and mainly authentication mechanisms in order to integrate that into a larger ecosystem with more technologies. As I say, this 9991 reuses the hardware that is already existing, so that saves a lot of time and a lot of effort and cost in order to create a solution. So our chipsets are now capable of, well, they were already capable of dealing with other wired with wired technologies like coaxial cables, using coaxial cables, twisted pairs, and power lines, okay, with high bandwidth. With the addition of 9991, that is, as I say, is basically a software update, we were able to cover also the LiFi market, okay, and provide solutions for the LiFi market, and then to start deploying real solutions and start creating that market. Today, to my knowledge, maybe I missed someone, but there are at least 4 silicon vendors that are capable of providing these solutions, or may be capable in the near future by providing these software updates to their equipments. And the maturity of these solutions are guaranteed by Homebrew Forum, and it was mentioned several times, and it will also mention this afternoon, by a standard alliance like Homebrew Forum that is creating an interoperability and compliance certification program that is due later this year, I think. So basically, what is the basic system? Okay, and I think this is important to mention as well. This is the typical implementation of a system using 9991. Okay, so basically, you have a baseband, okay, which provides the usual physical layer and MAC layer, okay. Then normally, and this is something that can be improved in the future, and I will elaborate a little bit more later on, okay, you do have some amplifiers and filters that are normally coming in a separate ASIC. And finally, you have the optical front end that is normally not integrated in the full solution in order to adapt or to couple the signal into the optical system, okay. So with this kind of systems, you can achieve today, well, roughly, depending on the optical front end that you are using, but basically can use the 200 megahertz band, okay, and it can go up to theoretically up to 1.7 gigabit per second. If you provide a more detailed view of the chipset, well, it's a basic chipset, okay, it's nothing very exotic, okay, but basically you have the transmission chain, okay, the analog front end, the transmission chain here will be the optical front end and all the typical interfaces. What is important, okay, and that's why I wanted to show this slide, is that whenever you provide a chipset, you don't provide only the chipset, the hardware, the chip itself, but you need to provide everything that goes around. And that is also very costly to develop, okay? So in order to provide a LiFi chipset solution, we don't provide only the chip. We provide the chipset, of course, but we need to elaborate reference designs for that. We need to put engineering efforts in order to provide all the reference designs to help the system integrator to build their ad solutions. And we need to create a firmware. Okay? So the firmware is basically the part of the software that is controlling the hardware. So, and that is implementing the protocol that is defined by ATU. But this is only part of the software that is in a LiFi solution. On top of that, you need to create stacks. You need to incorporate a lot of additional features that need to be done either by us or either by our customers. And for that, we provide also an SDK, a software development kit. Okay, all this, if you prepare all this from scratch, it's a lot of effort. It's maybe 100 people, software people working on that. So all this to provide the impression that whenever you decide to create the chipset and all the ecosystem that goes around, you have to prepare a big team of people, really big team of people, and that means a lot of money. Okay, so it has been calculated that maybe to provide a chipset with everything around in current technologies, maybe 40 million or $50 million. Okay, and the team working for maybe 1.5 years. Okay, so that's roughly the numbers. So now entering a little bit on the LiFi markets, okay, what we've seen so far. Okay, so and I will try to go a little bit faster on the next slides, but basically on our experience and we are very well placed because at the end we are providing the silicon to the different possible customers. So these are the things that we are seeing, okay, the markets that are appearing. Okay, we do have mobile backhaul. There are solutions on mobile backhaul that use LiFi, not to substitute current solutions, but to complement current wireless solutions. So wireless solutions are good for some things. LiFi-based solutions are good for other things. So in our case, we like this technology to complement the other offers that we have on mobile backhaul. Factory automation is maybe another one that is very important. And maybe personally, I always advocated for LiFi starting for factory automation, for instance, because I do think that this is where the benefits of LiFi are seen more clearly in the short term. Indoor LiFi, which is a very complex point, because when people talk about indoor LiFi, they always think about mobile phones and how can I integrate LiFi in mobile phones, okay, for instance. Well, I'm sorry to say that currently with whoever I spoke about integrating LiFi in a mobile phone, they told me why, okay, Because what is the benefit that LiFi brings in integrating into LiFi? I have my mobile phone in my pocket, well, not right now, but I normally have it in my pocket. Okay, if I use LiFi, it cannot connect, okay, because there is no connectivity. There is no connectivity to LiFi. So we still need to find in indoor the use case for integrating into mobile phones. However, indoor is much larger than that, much larger than that, because, and that's, I'm putting my other hat as a standards guy in home connectivity. The home network is much more complex than it used to be 10 years ago, where you had a gateway connected to devices. Now you do have a complex network of infrastructure, for instance, Wi-Fi repeaters. Okay, so providing backhaul for Wi-Fi and liberating spectrum for the front haul that will be in Wi-Fi, that is another, that can be another applications for LiFi that is very important. IT security is another one, as I mentioned. Okay, one of the big benefits that we are seeing in LiFi is the security that it brings. Okay, not only the fact that the signal cannot go to another room, but also that you cannot interfere from outside. Okay, so it's very easy to disrupt a Wi-Fi network by just putting a jamming station nearby. Okay, but we see medical, also we see portable devices, AR, VR. This will be an important thing as well. Submarine communication, transportation. But anyway, the idea that I want to give is that LiFi can be used in many places, many places. However, so far, there is no single market or killer application that say, wow, this is a volume application for LiFi. Okay, so for the moment, okay, what we are seeing is that LiFi is growing and growing and growing in some niche markets that are becoming more and more important, but it's not a revolution of Wi-Fi in the very short term where everybody will decide to move from Wi-Fi to LiFi. No, not at all. That will not happen. Okay, so the growing will keep being slow in the coming months. Now, well, I will skip these ones if you want to see a little bit more details on the markets. Okay, maybe just 1 minute to discuss on this. Okay, so this is a kind of analysis that we are doing where we are discussing, okay, for the different application segments, what is the strong point of LiFi technology? Okay, so and we need that address that market. Again, I will skip this one. We are a little bit late. Maybe the most important thing is to go directly on at least, and I will try to be very honest here, is what are the lessons that we have learned by working and providing silicon for the last years. Again, the first lesson, and even if it is a little bit difficult to see, but technology is being simplified. Okay, so we put an example when we started working in 9991, and Max mentioned it very well. Okay, we started with two PHYs. Okay, so it's the basic approach of standards when you cannot get an agreement and just put two PHYs. Okay, so that happens in all the standards. But basically, the idea was, okay, let's have a PHY that is more reuse of what we had, and another PHY that is a little bit more optimal for some use cases in LiFi. What happens in reality? Okay, in reality is that nobody had money to implement the second one. Okay. And it didn't bring as many benefits to justify to put money on that. So what happens today is that the PHY 2, the second PHY, I will not say that it disappeared, okay, but it's something that nobody is thinking to use, which, by the way, facilitates quite a lot interoperability. Okay, that there was a question on that. Second thing is that we are seeing that at least, and that was the purpose at the end when we started 9991, isn't it? That the products, the majority of products that you can buy today in the different markets are based on 9991. And that's what triggers the need for interoperability, by the way. Okay, why? Because hardware is available. Okay? You cannot create a market if you cannot create a device. Okay? And I will come back to that later on. IEEE specs are delayed or no chips that are available. Okay, I'm myself also in charge of Wi-Fi standards. Okay, so I know very well what happens. It's not because you can adapt a Wi-Fi chipset to deal with with LiFi that people that are implementing Wi-Fi chipset will do it, because it has a cost. in terms of money and in terms of time to market, which is even more important. So at the end, there is no real interest for the big Wi-Fi providers that are doing mobile phones, okay, chipsets, to incorporate LiFi at this moment. Okay. Now with the starting of the interoperability program, that is also, we hope that this will even trigger even more the use of IoT-based technology. So far, the lesson we learned is that our initial choice of using 9991 is starting to pay off by having more and more products in the market and having the technology more and more known by the user, okay, which is the important thing. I think that has to be a key message, okay. Nobody will use LiFi if they don't know LiFi, if they don't know that it exists, okay? And so far, I would say that maybe 99% of the population don't know that LiFi exists. Okay. Second lesson that we learn is that, yeah, we do have a good technology for many applications, but it's not the ideal technology for some other applications. So there is still things to be done, okay? Several, I will even say many features are not yet implemented in the 9991. They have to, okay, in the coming years, okay, and months. We are also members of the Elliot project, where we have been testing LiFi technologies. We learned several lessons from that project. One is that, okay, one of the things that LiFi can do better than Wi-Fi in some environment is positioning. Okay, so we should try to push more on positioning on LiFi because it brings a benefit. And positioning is a key point in all technologies today. Even in Wi-Fi, you will see a lot of Wi-Fi sensing. Okay, Wi-Fi sensing it's also another way to do positioning. Okay, but that's something that if LiFi can do better than Wi-Fi, this is a good selling point. Another thing is MIMO techniques. MIMO is not included in 9991 today. Okay, so the standard just specifies SISO. Okay, however, the hardware that people use for implementing G.VLC does have some MIMO capabilities. So within Elliot project, we tested the possibilities of using MIMO techniques within LiFi. And it works, okay? It works, but with drawbacks. Just because the implementation was done, not optimized for LiFi. So we do need to develop a LiFi specific flavor of this MIMO in order to benefit from the full potential of 9991. So these kind of things still need to be done, okay? The physical chipsets that are today available, not only from us, but from any other vendor, okay, are not completely optimized for LiFi. That is true. Okay, so we do need to reduce the power consumption. We do need to reduce the cost. That is something we already knew from the past. Okay, when we decide to use wired infrastructure chipset in LiFi, well, wired infrastructure, especially for instance, is this power line that is always plugged to the electricity, does not have electricity problems, obviously. Okay, so LiFi is completely different. So. But this is not a standard issue. This is an implementation issue that will be solved while the market is more and more, grows more and more. Another thing that we learn is that we do need a better integration of the optical front end. So as I mentioned before, now current implementations basically are 3-chip solutions today, or 2 chips plus discrete solutions. So there is room for improvement in terms of implementation in that regard. And another technical lesson that we learn, and I think this is very important, and some of the things that I heard today do not seem to go into that direction. We do need some high-level functions. We cannot see LiFi technology alone. Okay, we don't create technologies just because it's fun to create technologies. We do create technologies because there is a problem that we need to, or an issue or a solution that we need to create, and we need to solve that problem. And in order to solve that problem, what we learn, not from LiFi, but from our experience in all the other technologies that we done, in all the other ecosystem that we are working on, is that it's very rare that you solve the problem by using a technology. Okay, basically what you are having is several tools. Okay. And that you put together in order to solve the solution. Okay, these tools are Wi-Fi, LiFi, wired fiber, whatever. Okay, so LiFi is just part of a connectivity solution. So let's not think about LiFi as, okay, I have LiFi, everybody will switch to LiFi, I need to be better than Wi-Fi. No, I need to coexist with Wi-Fi. Okay, and need to coexist with Wi-Fi means sometimes to improve how Wi-Fi works. And maybe that's the first step that LiFi should do in the indoor part, okay, to recognize the fact that Wi-Fi is there, okay, and that how can I make Wi-Fi work better by offloading data, freeing spectrum, these kind of things, providing more security or positioning in the context where Wi-Fi is not enough, these kind of things. But LiFi will not substitute Wi-Fi for sure. The third lesson is, and I took this slide from a presentation I made on LiFi maybe 3 years ago, okay? And at that time I say that we were in a chicken and egg problem, okay? What is first, the technology or the application? We don't create technology if there is no application. We don't create the application because there is no technology for that. Okay, so how do we break this vicious cycle? At that time I say that the only way to break this cycle was to create a market. Once you have a market, you have the numbers to convince people to create silicon on that. We are doing that, but we are still not there yet. Okay, so we have a growing market, but this market is not big enough to justify today a complete solution just for LiFi. Okay, so 9991 partially broke this cycle, this vicious cycle, but we are not yet there. Okay, so we still need to reduce to live in a context where the investment in technology for LiFi is reduced. Okay, it's not as big as we want. Okay, we will be the first one to say, okay, I will put $50 million in order to create a fully optimized LiFi chipset for everything. Okay, but it's very difficult to convince my boss today to put that because my boss is saying, yeah, okay, but we need to put this $50 million in creating a new Wi-Fi chipset, okay, which has a better return of investment. Okay, so we are slowly moving out of this chicken and egg problem, but we are still in that problem. Okay, we cannot say that it is complete. So we need to keep focusing on creating market and piggybacking on other technologies. It's a reality. Okay, so let's focus. My main message is let's focus on market. That's the main. Our main motto: create more market, and it will be easier and easier to convince the silicon vendors to invest in this technology. And this approach, as I say, okay, there are new features that need to be developed. Okay, so this, unfortunately, we are better. Okay, we are still in this part of situation where we will need to piggyback on other technologies in order to create these new features. Okay, so unfortunately, we will have to live with a situation where chipsets that will be created with LiFi will also be the ones that will be used for other technology, which means that they will not be fully optimized for LiFi yet. As a summary of my presentation, these are the key messages that I would like to pass. First is that the LiFi market has started on some specific applications, and they are providing good technical results. They are good technical solutions. Okay, so we start the movement. But the focus still needs to be the market creation, not evolving the technology. Okay, it is creating awareness of what LiFi can bring to the overall picture of connectivity solutions. Okay, so which is the part of the whole problem that LiFi can solve? Let's address it with current tools. Let's create a market. Let's create awareness, and the rest will come. Okay. So the bigger the market is, the easier it will be to convince silicon vendors to invest in this market. That's obvious, as I say. I mean, today, my boss has maybe every year 10 or 15 proposals of new chipsets. Maybe 5 are funded and created. Why? Because of the return of investment. If I put the money, how much money I will get back? Okay, so today for Wi-Fi is very easy. If I put this money, I will get a lot of money back. For LiFi, it's more difficult because in LiFi today, the market is small. Okay, so the investment that I can do in LiFi is small as well. Okay, and this is true for every silicon vendor. Okay. Next message, 9991 needs still some iterations. It's not over. Okay, so that's something, and I'm also here as associate rapporteur of Q18 of ITUT SG15 that works in LiFi. We still have quite a lot of work to do in the standards in order to get the optimal standard for LiFi. And the last one, and as I say, don't focus on the technology, please. Focus on the market. Focus on the application. If I have to solve a problem, okay, it can be hospitality connectivity, can be indoor connectivity, industrial. LiFi is just one of the elements of the puzzle, of the overall puzzle. Okay, I heard the question on what happens with the backhaul. Yes, it is true. LiFi has cannot work alone. You need to provide a backhaul on LiFi, and there will be other presentations today that show that the granularity of LiFi is higher than Wi-Fi. Okay, so you need a stronger backhaul network. So you do need to have a strong backhaul network. Can be LiFi, can be Wi-Fi, can be Powerline, can be MoCA, it can be a fiber, can be many things. Okay, but the overall solution will be LiFi plus something. Okay, so let's try to think at system level and not at the technology level.